Hey everyone, welcome to the 2023 update for Tower. I know you've all been patiently waiting for the next update, so here it is. There's a lot to cover, but I'll stick to the important stuff. Now, this is my first video, in case you couldn't tell. Unfortunately, I'm not like the YouTube greats of today. I don't even have an avatar, so you're all gonna have to bear with me and my shitty non-YouTube optimized voice. But since this is my first video, and this is my first Tower patch notes video, I figured I'd give a bit of context. Tower comes from my middle school days. It's been a part of my life ever since. It is a huge passion project of mine. I am in no means a professional developer. I don't make games that make sense, are monetary successes, or are popular. I make Tower. And hey, that's how it is. So, here we are. Firstly, preparation phase is now officially in the rules. There has always been this sort of pseudo phase in the game where you are equipping items and talking with your friends and preparing for the next floor. Well, now that's officially a phase. Before it was just sort of tacked on to exploration, but now it has its own section in the rulebook for making things a bit more streamlined, easy peasy. Speaking of which, the exploration system has had a few changes. In the 2022 version, during an encounter, when a battle is lost, you would just revert back to the safe room. If all players run away or are destroyed, the room is cleared, but you don't gain the rewards of the room, and abilities that trigger upon room completion would not go off. This is what a failed room was. It was designed so that you couldn't dead end yourself while also still losing the reward. At first I thought this was the perfect punishment, as you can still move through the room, but you lose access to all the enemies you would have beaten and the items you would have gained. And since Tower has no leveling system, that's a huge deal. It's like losing out on a ton of XP. But this created its own set of problems. The punishment for failure was both too harsh and not harsh enough. Theoretically, you could fail a room, then skip that room, fail the next room, then skip your way all the way to the top of the tower. It's lessened Tower as a threat. So now dead ends from the original Tower are back. This has been a long requested feature in the very small community. A dead end is formed when a party fully flees or is completely destroyed, after which the room and all its enemies are put to the side and that spot on the map is marked. You can't progress through that spot until you retry this encounter and beat the enemies that were put to the side. At first I thought it would be too easy to dead end yourself, as in get stuck in an impossible situation where there's no way to progress because you don't have the items to do so. But after some thought and a lot of playtesting, I think I changed my mind on this. And honestly, just based on my solo play experience testing the game with myself, this has been a super positive change. We'll see what happens when the players get a hold of it. Naturally, there's also a safe room that can remove dead ends, so it's been incorporated into the game in that sense. If you're wondering how I fit the safe room into the pool of safe rooms that's already rather large, it's actually a replacement for another safe room that already existed. You see, another big change is that all the quest safe rooms are gone. I know that if you're sitting down, that news made you just continue to be sitting down and not interested because quest safe rooms were lame and were ignored throughout all playtesting sessions pretty much universally. Simply put, I underestimated the size of the enemy pool, and the whole campaign would go by without certain rare enemies appearing, so if you slotted in a quest safe room, you usually never got anything out of it. But now, instead of quest safe rooms, there's a separate document called suppression contracts. In this list, you will have to hunt certain wanted enemies. These are always available, and whenever you kill a listed enemy, you gain the associated reward. You can also pay for auto suppression, which replaces the quest enemy for one on the same floor. One universal complaint that the playtest sessions got were that elite enemies would just appear out of nowhere and flatten people. So I wanted to give sort of a way to avoid that, of course at a cost, but still, I feel that this will be a better system going forward. Moving on. After months of protest outside my apartment where people were throwing bricks through my window, I have finally decided to officially allow people to use safe rooms even if they're not slotted in.
None of that story's true, is it, Carl?
No, I made it all up because I crave attention.
Of course, the slotted in safe rooms remain. Safe rooms that aren't slotted in are still discarded. However, when you draw 2, you can use both abilities. Moving on to the combat phase, there's also been major changes to help smooth it out just a little bit. Firstly, the combat phase has been simplified in its use. In the last version, all actions were declared. They were ordered by speed along with the enemy actions, and they were resolved highest action first. Sounds simple, right? No, idiot. What happens if the enemy has a passive ability that you can't see because it's on the action pile, so it's under your actions? What if there's actions that
Speaking of which,
affect
if the
other
enemy
actions?
pile
How am I
is
supposed to
under
target
your
an
cards or
enemy if I
shuffle?
cannot
Oh
physically
God,
see
it's
the
so
enemy? Now, once all actions have been declared, they are put in order of speed, and the highest speed is compared to the enemies that have not yet performed an action. If an enemy has a higher speed, they perform an action. Otherwise, the player action is resolved. Now, this change means practically nothing to the majority of players, because this is how they were already doing it in order to fix the confusion. But this does effectively mean that the enemies no longer use the action pile at all, which makes writing rules for it a lot simpler. Same goes with bosses. And before players of a certain build freak out, all of the items have been changed to reflect this change. I went in and changed all their passives, so you don't need to worry about that. This also goes for all passive abilities from all enemies, all bosses, and every item in the game. Yeah, this was a very small change player side, but for me, this took forever to change. Nextly, oh Christ. Next, let's talk about war. Specifically the war I've been fighting for years, the war on basic math. The speed, damage, and health of everything in this game has been simplified to a multiple of 10. Before, these numbers were 5s or 10s, meaning you could have something deal 15 damage, something dealing 10 damage, something dealing 25 damage. Guess what? Everything deals damage in 10s now. 20, 30, 40, 10, etc. It just makes the math so much easier. Now, you won't ever have to worry about cutting a number like 15 in half ever again. This makes so much sense, and it took so long. Oh my god, it took so long. Thousands of cards. I just sat there every single night, just changing damage values in Photoshop. Every card. Oh my god. Every single card. There's so many cards. Why are there so many cards? Oh my god. So anyway, lots of typo corrections as well. Some blurry cards have been rescanned to try and fix whatever scan issue caused them to be blurry in the first place. Some box actions that would straight up one-shot players have been toned down slightly. Sorry about that. Some minor buff and nerfs on items, and oh yeah, backwards edge, striking 6, and dual hammers have been removed from the game effective immediately.
Change the world. My final message. Goodbye.
Oh, please, stop it. These items were trash and you know it. They had no keywords, no passives, no art. They were just trash items. Sorry, not sorry. They've been replaced by 3 brand new items that help some unserved niches. Now that we're nearing the end of this video, let's talk about the game's direction. Tower has always been a roguelike, but originally in middle school I wanted Tower to be hard. Like, really difficult. Like, everything worked against you, including other players, and you had to use every item to its fullest to barely survive. And beating Tower was an accomplishment by itself. But over the years, and I mean years, it's become clear and clear to me that the raw difficulty of the game wasn't the fun part. The fun part is turning yourself into an eldritch monstrosity using a variety of esoteric items in a unique way in order to murder God. But it never gets to the point where you're just steamrolling everything. There's always variance, and trying new things is rewarded. This is what Tower is known for now. I've leaned into it and leaned off of making the game blatantly unfair for... Why did I do that? I don't know. Maybe it was a Darkest Dungeon type of thing. Although Darkest Dungeon didn't exist when I first made this game. I don't know. The game's a lot more like Binding of Isaac now, where there's definitely a balance to it, and if you're good at it, you'll certainly crush and go on insane 100-game win streaks. But there's also a lot of variance, and if you get the right item builds, you can really break the knees of the difficulty curve. But it's still very skillful and challenging. I think that's sort of what I'm aiming for Tower now. A really fun roguelike that you can do crazy shit in, but also allows you to have some skill expression. But anyway, that's it for this update. Like I said before, you can find the rest of the patch notes in the description below. If you're a new viewer and want to check out the game, you can also find the rules and sell sheet. And if you're a guy with a lot of money, like a suit guy, you can also, contact me in the sell sheet. Maybe we can work something out. Just kidding. I think it's going to be a bit before this game is ready to be published in any sense, but we'll see where it goes. However, if you would like to try the game, you are more than welcome to. We have a free TTS mod that you can find a link to in the description. We also have a Discord where we try to do weekly games, and we would love new players, and we're willing to teach you anything you want to know. I think the next video is going to be the video rules. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This has been months and months in the making, so please, if you could like the video, it would be awesome. Alright, see ya.